finally we're back out match fishing. Been waiting ages for this and I couldn't wait to get back out. So decided to come and fish the Wednesday Open at the Oaks, where we're on Ash Beach in Sycamore Lake. Now these lakes are known for big weights, so I'm expecting the fishing to be good. Weather's beautiful, 20 degrees and sunny all day, but I'm thinking the fishing could be a bit more tricky than what it can be. The lakes haven't been fished for 3 months, the match only, so there's no pleasure anglers been on them. And suddenly it's a sellout match. Pegged two pegs together, miss one, right round all 3 lakes. That's what Tom, the fishery owner's, capped it at. So we've all got a spare peg either at one side of us. But luckily for me, there's one person not turned up, and he just happens to be on Ash 21. So I've ended up with 2 spare pegs to my right and 1 to my left, and loads of room compared to what everyone else has got. So real stroke of luck there. That should help me catch a few more fish. But with the fishing being a bit more tricky, or me expecting it to be a bit more tricky, I'm thinking probably 150 pound-ish will win. That's probably going to be 50 to 60 fish, I would think. So if I can catch a few early and maybe make the most of the space later on and catch some fish short or down the edge, then it's a peg that should give me a good chance of winning. Tactics wise, to start with, I'm going to fish hard pellets on the long pole. Now by doing that, I'll be feeling my way into the match a little bit. Just sort of, if it is a little bit more tricky, I know exactly what's happening. I've not gone throwing bait everywhere or anything like that. After that, I'm looking to fish meat short. I always find this time of year, meat short on these lakes, especially in the last 2 hours, is really good. And combine that with this bit of extra space I've got, I'm expecting the last 2 hours to be really good on that line. And then down the edge, again, I'll either throw some meat in or fish hard pellets. I haven't really decided on that. I'll make my mind up when I see what I think the lake's going to fish like. So I'll make my mind up in the first half an hour or so what bait I'm going to feed down there. But most of all, I'm happy to be back on the bank fishing a match, and hopefully I'm going to catch loads of fish. So I'll come back to you in a bit. I'll let you know how things are going, what I'm catching, and how the lake looks to be fishing. Right, almost 2 hours into the match now. And it's gone alright, to be honest. Started off on a long pole with hard pellets, and to be honest, that wasn't very good. I fished there for about 50 minutes, and I caught 3 carp, 7 or 8 eyed, which to be honest were a bit of a pain. I was missing a few bites, wasn't really sure how much bait to feed, because I knew a lot of it was getting eaten by them eyed, and after 50 minutes I sort of thought I'm going to have to give up on it. Dropped in short where I've been feeding meat, made a nice run on that, maybe caught 6 or 7, and then a few came to the surface in the sun, and I've had a little go sort of dotting around my peg, mugged a few fish. There wasn't loads swimming past me, but it seemed like for sort of a half an hour spell, everyone that come past, I flicked my rig in front of it and I caught it. It seemed like everyone wanted to eat my hook bait. So that was nice, and then they've sort of drifted off a bit again. There's still a few about, but they're further out and hard to see, so I've given up on that again and come back where I've been feeding meat short and caught another, I think I've had another 3 fairly quickly. So like I said, it's like sort of an hour and 50 minutes gone, and I've got 21 carp and a few eyed for probably £60, so decent enough start. I do feel like it'll get better later on. Oh, there's a fish. Yeah, I feel like sort of maybe them last 2 hours, I think this meat short or down the edge could come really good, and I could catch really well, get a really good run of fish. So hopefully I can keep catching a few till then and then get a really good finish and give myself a good chance of doing well. Lovely stamp of fish. So I'll put a few more of them in the net and hopefully things will go okay. Okay, so since the last update, I've been fishing another hour and a half, so that's taken us to sort of 2 hours of the match to go, and I'm really happy with how things are going, to be honest. I've had another really good spell, mostly mugging. Like I said before, there's not loads and loads of fish swimming past, but they seem to be really easy to catch. Most of the fish that I've flicked my bait in front of seem to take it. And I think that's probably early, because it's early in the year, they haven't really been fished for, they've not wised up to it yet. So that's been really good. In the spells when there doesn't seem to be as many fish moving about, sort of swimming through my peg, I've dropped on the bottom, I've caught an odd fish on my meat short line, which I'm hoping is now going to come really good these last 2 hours. And I've caught a few fish shallow down the side as well. I had a run of about 5 or 6, and then I've caught another couple after that. So I'm up to, I think, 62 or 63 carp and a few eyed for probably £160. So real good weight with 2 hours of the match left. Hopefully the fish start having a feed now and I can get a really good run where I've been throwing that meat in. One little change I've made. It's quite clear that the bulk of the fish is shallow today. I have caught an odd one on the bottom, but there's lots and lots of fish moving about on the surface. So started feeding that short meat line a little bit more aggressively in the hope that these last couple of hours I can get some fish competing and catch them shallow with a bit of luck. So I'll come back to you a little bit later and let you know how things are going, but at the minute things are going perfectly, really, just how I'd have hoped, and hopefully I'll get another good run of fish to finish the match off. Well, that is the end of a brilliant day. Just back in my garage now, been putting my gear away, and the match has fished absolutely brilliant. The weights have been phenomenal considering we're right at the end of March. The lakes hadn't been fished for quite a few months and lots of pressure on the lake. And like I mentioned right at the start, I thought the fishing might be a bit more difficult than what it can be, but I was totally wrong. Fishing's been brilliant, weights have been brilliant. So, last time I updated you, there was 2 hours to go and things were going really well. I'd got sort of £160 and I was sort of alternating, mostly mugging, dotting about my peg, catching fish all over the place as they were cruising past, and when they disappeared, I was catching some fish on the bottom at 5 metres. So, just a quick look at my rigs, which I didn't show you earlier. I'll just show you the two that have sort of done most of the damage on the day. And the main one has been this, my mugging rig. Now, really, really simple, to be honest. I know a lot of people fish with sort of full top kit of line, reasonably heavy float, swing it in so they can get some accuracy. But I've always found on them lakes at the Oaks, the fish don't really spook from your pole tip. They'll come right under it, no problem. So I don't fish with that long a line. My main line on this is 019, and above the float I've got, I don't know, probably 2.5 foot. So not really long. Like I said, I don't find the fish spook from the pole tip. So having that sort of slightly shorter line than some people might use for mugging just allows me to be a bit more accurate, flick my rig right where I want it, and the fish aren't going to spook. Now, what the fish on there do tend to spook from is noise. So, I've gone for a really light float. You see here, that's only 0.1 of a gram. And that's just shotted with a nice simple bulk of 3 number 11s right underneath the float. So because that float's so light, I can flick it in, land it in front of a fish. It doesn't make a lot of disturbance. Doesn't spook the fish, and hopefully I'll get a bite. Now I've set that at about 15 inches. Even though the fish are right on the surface, what's been really noticeable today is when I flick my bait in, quite often there'll be a delay of maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and I'd actually see the fish sort of sink down and disappear from view, and then I would get a bite. So obviously the fish are following that hook bait as it sinks really naturally, no shot down the line. Fish have followed it down and took it a bit deeper than what they're actually swimming. So that depth of about 15 inches has been perfect. Hook length wise, I've got exactly the same as my main line, 0.17 to a size 16 and a bait band. I can pull that bait band into my meat to hair rig it, which just means I miss a few less bites. So the whole thing really is about accuracy, about not making much noise with that light float, and obviously spotting fish and flicking it in front of them. Best hook bait by a million miles today was just a piece of meat. I've tried pellets and I've tried sort of bandams and that type of thing, but like I said earlier, the only thing that really tends to spook the fish there is some noise. So by using that lighter meat hook bait, it doesn't make the same plop as a pellet, doesn't spook the fish, and that has been the best rig by a million miles today. Probably caught 80% of my fish on that mugging rig. And then after that, like I said, when the fish disappeared from view, I've been throwing that meat in at sort of 5 metres, top kit and 2, and a little bit. And I've just fished meat on the bottom and shallow there. Shallow's not been very good over my feed, to be honest, which really surprised me. I thought later on I would catch shallow, but I haven't. And that rig, it's almost a total opposite to that. Much heavier float, nice and positive, get my bait straight to the bottom. So 4x16 float, nice slim body and a thick tip so I can distinguish liners and bites. Again, 0.17 main line. And then moving down to the shot, above my 6-inch hook length, I've got some spread out number 8s, just slightly spread out there in a spread bulk. And halfway down my 6-inch hook length, I've got a number 8 stot. And then again, that size 16 hook and a hair rig bait band to pull into my meat. I like to hair rig my meat, even fishing on the bottom, just find I miss lots less bites and catch more fish. Now, the reason for the rig being so heavy and so positive is I often find on them lakes that when the fishing's really good on that short pole line and you're catching lots of fish, the bites can actually be really, really shy, which sounds surprising because you've got so many fish in your peg. But I think that's probably the reason for it. I think there's so many fish there competing, they often pick your hook bait up and they don't do anything and they sit there and they keep eating the rest of the bait that's on the bottom. So by having plenty of shot down the line and a reasonably big shot on my hook length quite close to the hook, as soon as a fish picks my hook bait up, I can see my bite. And I'll fish with that dotted right down to the surface so it's sort of, there's hardly anything sticking out. And all of a sudden the bites that before weren't quite so positive become really positive because you've got that dotted down float, you've got a tight rig with all that shot going down the line, and you just miss less bites. So they're the 2 rigs that have done most of the damage for me today. I did set up a long pole, but that wasn't very good, and the edge as well, but also didn't catch a lot there. So going on to the result, with 2 hours to go, and I updated you, I said I had £160, which I was really, really happy with. I was thinking to myself, last 2 hours will be really good, where I've fed meat short. I did start feeding that more aggressively in the hope that I would catch some fish shallow. I was really, really confident I was going to catch shallow them last 2 hours, but for whatever reason it hasn't worked. The whole lake actually seems to have shut off, and in the last 2 hours I've only caught 8 fish for £23, because that was at the same point I'd just put my 4th net in. So I've put a 4th net in, 2 hours to go, ended up with only £23 in it, and I've finished up with I think 70 or 71 carp, and they have weighed £195, which I would have thought this morning would be enough to comfortably win the match. But the amount of fish in Oaks and the weights fished, I've only finished up 4th in the match. So still a good result. I think there was 55, 56 anglers there, apart from the person who was next to me, obviously, who never turned up and gave me all that space. So I've had a good day's fishing. In hindsight, I've probably made a bit of a mistake becoming more aggressive with that meat. I should have just kept dripping in maybe 4 or 5 pieces, concentrated on trying to catch the fish on the bottom, and not sort of gone all out to catch shallow, which in hindsight was a bad idea. But who can complain? £195, end of March, brilliant day's fishing. I've caught loads of fish. Results-wise, Phil Sellers has won the match. He's had £280 off peg 15 on Sycamore, which the evening before I said I actually wanted to draw that peg. I was thinking a corner would be very hard to beat with that many anglers on, and Phil is absolutely brilliant on them lakes. So when he drew that peg, he was always going to be hard to beat. But with that extra room that I had, I really did think my peg would actually be better than a corner. Maybe the fish haven't fed well enough on that lake, I'm not really sure. But it's still been good. After me, there was £130 on there, I think. 120, so the fishing on there has been good. Probably made a mistake feeding heavy and trying to catch shallow. But even if I hadn't have done that, I'm not sure I would have caught sort of another £85 that was needed to win. Second place was £220, and then third was £200. So them weights were a bit more achievable, and I do think if I'd have just kept going steady with my bait, fished at 5 metres on the bottom and fished nicely, I probably would have caught enough to come second. So mistakes made there, but being back out on the bank fishing a match was absolutely brilliant. Caught loads of fish and sat in the sun all day, so absolutely no complaints really, and I can't wait to get back out. Like normal, if you've enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all again next time.